important, what are the tools and libraries, and we'll do a hands-on exercise. So these are our session objectives. And I'm your instructor, Divya Thakur. Yeah, so Rajan is saying that data is all about raw facts. True, raw facts in the sense they can be numbers, they can be text, they can be images, videos, audio files. And yes, it's a collection of facts, Anusha. Chandra, there is a difference between data and information. Information can be oral also, but data has to be in some kind of rigid format. Yeah. So do you all know that 90% of the world data has been created in the last 2 years alone? So whatever data is available to us from the time immemorial, since the days of like First World War, Second World War, so 90% of that world data has just been generated in the last 2 years. So why is that so? Because today there are many handheld devices. Today, the TVs are also smart. So their data is also stored in the cloud. There are numerous apps, for example, Netflix, for example, some OTT platforms, as you all must be knowing, like Amazon Prime, Z5 and all. And we have all sorts of gaming data, we have mobile phones data, maps data, that geolocation data. So that all gets stored up in the cloud. So that's why there's a huge generation of data in the last 2 years, owing to the fact that there was Corona also, so everybody was using their handheld devices. So that's why study of this data is important for businesses, for organizations. And if you are entering this world of data, you can become a data analyst, you can become a data scientist, an AI researcher, and so on and so forth. So there's a huge demand for data analysts, data science interns, data scientists these days. So this is Hans Rosling, that is a pioneer in the field of data visualization. He used to teach health analytics at Harvard University, Stanford University. And he used to make his sessions interactive with people. So he used to explain health, like what is the correlation between lifespan and income in different countries, and how over the years, since the income has risen, the lifespan also has risen. So he used to show that very interactively and has built up some tools also for data visualizations, which are used by researchers nowadays. So can anybody tell me the exact definition or very close definition also of data visualization, and why is it important? It's easier for the human brain to process that kind of a data, like a text or a visual. And also, data visualization helps get out the patterns, the trends, and the outliers in very large data sets. So as you can see over here, there is a huge chunk of data over here. That is, those people whose earnings are more or less $400 don't live that much longer. So as you can see, there is a pattern, there is a trend, and somewhere lies the outliers also. For example, over here. Okay, so as you can see, 1918, this data was over here. So although the income was like $4,000, the lifespan was just 50 years. So this data visualization helps get insights from the data. So we'll see a hands-on exercise about this. A structured data is a prepared data, is a processed form of data which you can visualize in the form of rows and columns, in the form of numbers, symbols, text. Yeah, raw data is unstructured data. So Excel has limited number of rows and limited number of columns. So for the large amount of data being generated nowadays, you need more number of rows, more number of columns. And you cannot every time go over to these tabs to form a chart. You need to store that somewhere. Once processed, once some insights are gained, you need to store it somewhere. So Excel does not have that capability. So that's why we use programming languages. We'll use Python in this session, and we will use Google Colab for this. I'll make you all understand how core Python programming concepts can be used in Google Colab. So there is no need to have any technical expertise. I'll start from scratch over here. But our software will be Google Colab, which is available online. Now that we know we'll use Google Colab, now that we know we'll be using Python, so let's understand in depth, why do we need to use a programming language? It's because we are working on large data set, and Excel will not have that capability to hold it or to perform analysis on it. Now, programming languages increase reproducibility. So if you all are aware with the concepts of programming languages, that is functions and methods, so once you write a code, you can rerun it again and again and perform different computations or similar type of computations on it. And once written, you can reuse it again and again. So this kind of functionality is not there in Excel. So once you generate a chart or a map or a geo map, you have to generate it over and over again. But in Python, if you have written that code once, you can just go over it, rerun it, and you'll be sorted. So programming language also ensures lower latency. So that is, the time taken is lesser. The data is large, but the time taken to perform data manipulation on it is lower. And using programming languages, it's easier to reference external data sources. So for example, in Excel, you can only use .xslv files and all, but if you're using Python, you can use CSV files, you can scrape the data on your own and also use it and perform analysis on it. So I request everybody, I'm just copy pasting this link over here. In the chat box, and I request you all to download this. So how to download, let me show it to you. So just open this link. And there are 3 files that are the 3 data sets, which is Zomato.csv. So CSV stands for comma separated values. So there are, for example, in this data set, there were 18 elements. So every element is separated by commas over here. Here in XLSX files, so we have values separated by tab delimiters. Tab delimiter means 4 spaces. So just the delimiters are different, but the values stored in these 2 files are same. And then we have a data set which is about country code. So I'll explain this to you when we'll be performing data analysis. And then we have an interactive Python notebook over here, which is IPYNB. So just go over to this tab and press download, and please download this folder, zipped folder. Now just open this and do an extract all, and just remove these numbers for your own convenience. So everybody has downloaded the data set and extracted it. What does the extraction do? It gives you 2 folders, so folder inside a folder. So make sure that you cut this folder over here. Go to your download section and just paste it. So I'll do a Control-V. And then the redundant folder gets away with, and you are left with these files over here, which is country code, Zomato_CSV, and a Zomato Exploratory Data Analysis.IPYNB. Google Colab. So for that, just type in Google Colab in your search bar, and Just click on this first result. So you'll get something like this. And now what you all have to do is just click on this new notebook. So I'll explain you what the UI of Google Colab is like before we proceed with the Zomato's data analysis. New notebook. And type in yes if you all have. Okay, so I have 3 yeses, waiting for 2, 3 more. As you can see over here, there are 2 options to insert a code cell or a text cell. So this is a cell for you. You can either click over here and a new cell will open up, or just highlight this cell on which you are working, and you can see the same code and text options over here. So from over here also, you can just click on this code and a new cell will open up for you. And then there is a text cell also. So in this you can write, so one hash would mean heading number 1. So this is heading 1. 2 hashes would mean heading number 2, and so on till number 6. So to run this cell, you can either press Shift Enter or Control Enter key. And this is the result you will be getting once you run this text cell. So heading number 1 is the largest heading over here with the largest text size, font size, and heading number 2, heading number 3, and so on. So I just press Control and Enter. If you press Control and Enter, the cell will run and you will be on that same cell. If I'll write a code over here, suppose A equals to 5, and use print A, a simple code for code in Python, code Python, and run this cell with Shift and Enter. So this cell will run, and then you will be directed to this subsequent cell, the next cell. So see, I press Shift and Enter. This cell will be running, and I'm here in the second cell. But if I'll do a Control Enter, I'll be in that same cell. I can also use things like if A equals to 7, B equals to 5, and I'll do a print A plus B and run this cell. Either you can interactively run it, or from the using the keyboard shortcut Control Enter or Shift Enter, you can run the cell. And as you can see, this uses RAM and disk space available on Google Cloud. So there is no issue of using, you needing 16 GB of RAM or stuff on your device to run your Python notebook. So now let's move on. So if you will click on File, you can see that you can locate this IPython notebook in your drive. So everybody just click on File tab over here, and then on this sub tab, which is Locate in Drive. So as you can see, my drive has now a new folder, which is Colab Notebooks. So mine already has this Zomato Restaurants Data Analysis folder over here. So what you have to do is just click on this new and do a folder upload. And now choose that folder which you all downloaded and extracted. So that extracted folder needs to be uploaded in your drive. So just open this folder over here and click on this IPynb file. So which will open up in Google Colab by default. So exploratory data analysis, or EDA as it's fondly called, is about how to get familiar with your data, how to identify important columns, how to perform data manipulation, and get interesting results by asking the right questions, and also how to visualize data. So this all comes under exploratory data analysis, that is exploring your data. So today's data is about the restaurants that are listed with Zomato. So Zomato is an Indian restaurant aggregator and food delivery startup, as we all know, and we all use it daily. So it was founded by Dipinder Goyal and Pankaj Chadha in 2008. And Zomato initially used to provide information about the menus, the user reviews of all restaurants as well. Nowadays, it also provides the food delivery options from partner restaurants in select cities. So what's the problem statement? In this session, we are going to analyze the restaurant business data. We want to study the food habits of the Zomato users also. What are their preferences? What are their ratings, so that we can improve our businesses. So this data set, collected data has been stored in zomato.csv file, which is a comma separated value file. And each restaurant in that data set is uniquely identified by its restaurant ID. So every restaurant contains the following variables. So these are the information that we have about each restaurant. Each restaurant has a unique ID. It has a name, of course. It has a country code. So in which country that restaurant is located, in which city that restaurant is located, what's the address, what's the locality, locality verbose. It means detailed description of that locality. Then longitude, latitude, the cuisines which are offered by that restaurant, as in the menu. What is the average cost for two? And what is the currency, which is also the currency of the country? If that restaurant has a table booking or has an online delivery option available on Zomato, if it's right now delivering or not, if you can switch to order menu, what's the price range, what's the aggregate rating, the rating color. So depending upon the average rating color, so it can be green, red, yellow, and so on. The rating text, so this will be useful for word cloud, rating text, and this cuisines thing. So I'll explain it to you how. And then the number of votes, so the number of ratings casted by people for that particular restaurant. There is another data set which has the country codes in it. So we'll merge these two data sets and then perform data analysis on the same. So for example, your question could be that use this Zomato CSV and help the business to analyze which ratings have poor, which restaurants have poor ratings in Zomato and why. So you have to give an explanation to your company, like which all restaurants have poor ratings and why so. So I have given you all that code in which we'll be using pandas. So this is the pandas library, and I've given it an alias of PD. And this is how to import NumPy library in Python using this import keyword. So import NumPy, and because NumPy is such a heavy name and we have to use it again and again, so I have given it an alias of NP. And to pandas, this is the standard aliases. So to pandas, we have an alias of PD. Now there is one more library, which is matplotlib, which is helpful for data visualization. So you can create charts such as bar charts, line plots, scatter plots, and pie charts, etc. using this library. So I'm using the pyplot sub-library of this matplotlib main library. So I've addressed it as matplotlib.pyplot and then given it an alias of PLT. So also I've used this %matplotlib inline. So if you will not use this, you will get some warnings and stuff and some commas when you'll be plotting your scatter plots or pie charts. This ensures that the graph remains inline and does not open up in a new window or does not show some kind of warnings, etc. And then we are also importing one more library for visualization, which is Seaborn. And it lets you use some more interactive plots, such as box plots, violin charts, and etc. Some advanced charts for data visualization that Matplotlib PyPlot does not have. So just run this cell either by clicking here or using Control Enter or Shift Enter. And with running your cell, you'll get this green tick over here, and it will show you how many seconds ago this cell was run. Type in yes if you all have run this cell. And any doubts, anyone?
Ma'am, myself is Sunil.
Yes, Sunil.
Yes, I'm a little bit of confused. We are learning this Python or something.
Yes, it's Python.
Okay, it's Python. Okay.
Yeah.
Just because I'm new to for this, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's okay. So for anyone who is new to it, in Python, you use the import keyword to make code in one module available in another. So suppose in C library, all of you must have used this stdio.h and all. So that those are modules. So it lets you use that println. In a similar fashion, these modules make available their functions or their methods to you for your usage in Python.
Okay. Give me some a little bit of because I'm not understand at all. Because we are using Python for why?
Python is faster, and if you write, suppose I have closed that new notebook down. So in C, you have to use that hash include and then write int main, and then if you need to print a variable, you actually have to write 5 to 6 lines of code. But in Python you can just do print and print anything like hello.
Yes, I'm hearing.
So that's very efficient to use, and it's very human readable.
Okay, so how it is convenient to comparing to any other softwares?
Any other softwares, you mean any other programming language?
Yes.
Yeah, so Python was new, and this data science field was also new. So many researchers started using Python because it's human readable. So they used it for their research and built many libraries like Pandas, NumPy, and many more like Plotly and Seaborn. So they did their research and they started building these libraries. So that's why Python became more famous for data science usage. And so is Julia. But they are more focused, on that research aspect. And Python is nowadays being used by businesses more often.
Okay.
So in your IPYNB files, you might be getting, I'm just removing this thing that is pd.read_csv and then zomato.csv with an encoding attribute over here. So now what we are doing is we are declaring a variable. So Zomato_df. df means data frame. So I've given the name as Zomato_df to this variable. And I'm using from this pandas library, I'm using a method which is read_csv. Because I want to read a CSV file, which is zomato.csv. So if you all can see over here, we have this zomato.csv available to us in this folder. So I want to open up that file here. Okay. But if I run this cell, and you all also must be getting this error, which is file not found error. Although it's available over here in your folder, this error will show up. So what you have to do is just click on this table of contents icon over here, and you can see your notebook. Then go to this files, or you can do it right away. Like if I close this, just go to this files icon. And you can see that under your sample data, you do not have that CSV file, which is zomato.csv. So for that, you will have to mount your drive. This icon we'll have to use. So just click on this mount drive icon. and you'll get something like this. A cell will pop up. So just run this cell, and this kind of a notification bar will be there, which will now Google Drive, Colab is asking you to connect to your Google Drive or not. So I'll just click on connect to Google Drive and choose your email ID to connect, and then click on allow. So it will show something like this, mounted at content drive. Okay. So now that mounting is done, go back to your folder. To mounting your drive, you have to just do a quick refresh, and this drive will show up over here. And go to your Colab notebooks, this folder, Zomato Restaurants 1. And from over here, just do a copy path. And instead of zomato.csv, just paste that path over here and run this cell. And you're sorted. So that I do not get any noise while speaking. Okay, so let's get into this section, which is about inspecting data. So now our data set is available in this variable, which is Zomato_df. So we'll use this method, which is head, on this data set of ours. So what this head does by default, the value over here is n equals to 5. N means number of rows. So it lets you visualize, or it lets you view the top 5 rows available in your data set. So let me open this Zomato.csv in our Excel, Excel software. Or so Google has opened it up for me in its Google Sheets. So as you can see, there's a restaurant ID, restaurant name, country code, city address, and so on. And similar results we are getting over here. So I'll quickly run this. And as you can see, we are getting the top 5 rows. You can increase it also to 10. So as you can see, you can view 10 rows from over here because the indicing is starting from 0. So the last index is 9. And there are 10 rows in total and 21 columns. So you're getting the similar results from over here. You can also skip this n equals to and simply write 10. And you'll get similar result. And know how many elements are there. So for that, we are using length. Or you can simply do Zomato_df.shape so that you get number of rows and number of columns in one go. So shape is an attribute and not a method. So I did not put in the parenthesis because it's an attribute, not a method in Pandas library. So it's very, it's very good thing if students keep doing, a Google search to know what Pandas shape is all about and read what's being, what they have formed. So as you can see, it returns a tuple representing the dimensionality of the data frame. So it's always handy to use documentation while you are coding. So you can get a more, good grasp of what you are doing. So as you can see, it's an attribute and not a method. So there are 9,551 rows and 21 columns in our data set. This function or this method, which is n unique. So as you can see, this is the spelling unique, and then you are placing an n in front of it. and then using these parentheses. So use it correctly, use the spelling correctly, and just do Zomato underscore df dot n unique. So this ensures that how many elements, how many unique elements are there in each column or in each series. So which means that are there any repetitive values? So you have to see that. So restaurant ID is unique. Every restaurant has a different ID. But there are some common, restaurant names as well. So now you get an insight. And there are only 15 countries because there are 15 country codes available, which are unique in nature. There are 141 cities in your data set, which are unique. So you have your restaurants data from over 141 cities. And you have 8,918 unique addresses. So some addresses might be missing or overlapping. So you can, go through that, tell your company that some addresses are not right. So locality verbose also is missing, locality is not defined or something like that. So this is the first insight you're getting through this n unique method from over here. And how many restaurants are delivering now? How many restaurants have online delivery? This is not how many, this is yes or no question. So there are only two unique values over here. Has table booking, yes or no. Has online delivery, yes or no. So you are like, there is no maybe in the data set. You just have yes and no. So you're sure that your data set is correct. So things like that can be reduced from this method, which is n unique. So let me also use this country. Okay, so this country code sheet over here, I'm using it. I'm defining a variable which is country underscore df and using the pandas method pd.read underscore excel. So you can also, go to your pandas documentation, do a control F and then do Excel. See if the method is available. Or just simply search from over here, like how to, if you get stuck. So it's very good to use documentation or very good to use Stack Overflow. So just do pd.read underscore Excel and again you have to mount this. So I'll just do copy path of this file. Just copy the path and do a control V.
Yes,
Type
yes.
in yes. Sure. So now similar inspection you can do with this country underscore df variable, which stores this country code sheet over here. And you can see that how many rows and columns are there and how many unique values are also there. So I'm doing this in just one tab. So I'm doing an n unique to see how many rows, to see how many unique values are there in each column. So also I can get data about one whole column from over here. So the way to extract it is like use the variable. So suppose df is the variable and then use these square brackets and grab the column name. So from over here the column name is country. So just copy using Control C, copy, and in single apostrophe commas just paste and then run the cell. So you'll get all the data which is stored in that particular column displayed over here. So it's nothing but a quick inspection of what our data set is looking like. Now I have to, see this Zomato data set was having these many columns, and the last column was votes. But now I would also like to know that if that restaurant belongs to a country like India, and which city does it belong to. So for that, as you can see, I'm using these two options, these two cells, which you can also use in your Colabs. So I'm just grabbing this country code series from my dataset, which is Zomato_DF. So as you can see, there is one series, which is country code. And there are 15 unique values in this country code, okay, which is displayed over here. And also I can see from over here that there is indeed a country code column, and there are these many values. 162 is being displayed. So I have to display all the values. So I'm using unique method over here on this series, on this column. Or I can simply, if I'm running this Zomato_DF. So in all the columns, whatever values are there are getting displayed. But what I have to check is if this country code column and this country code column is the same. That is, if there are same values. So in our data frame, which is country_DF, there are 15 unique values. As you can see, 1, 14, 30, 37. And if I'll just quickly, display all the countries over here. So there's a capital C. So these are the 15 different countries and their country codes also. Are these 1, 14, 30, which is being displayed as unique. So if I was running the same code over here, repetitive values were being displayed. And if I run it over here, only single values are being displayed because all these are unique. And if I'll run this unique method, on our Zomato_DF. So I'm grabbing this country code series and running this unique method. So I can see that indeed the values being displayed, like 162 is here as well as here. So 216 is there in Zomato_DF as well as 216 is here in the country DF. So all these values are overlapping. These unique values are overlapping. That's why I can merge these two data frames together. So now I have performed this merge using pd.merge of which data frames of Zomato_DF and country_DF on which column? On country code column. Okay. So I have named this variable Zomato_data and merge these two data frames, Zomato_DF and country_DF on country code, because country code series has unique values, same and unique values in Zomato_DF as well as in country_DF. So let's move on to data exploration. And the first thing I want is the description of the numeric columns in the data set. So what all columns are numeric? So restaurant ID is numeric because the values are integers. So is the country code, because again we saw 162, 30, 114, those were the values. So those are all integers. And we have longitude and latitude as float values. So there was 72.1 or something values like that. So they are all float values. And average cost for 2 is integer value. Then price range is also an integer value. Aggregate rating is a float value. So there can be ratings like 4.3, 4.2, 3.7, and so on. So those are float values. And finally, the number of votes is an integer value. So now we'll be working on these numeric columns in our data set for now. So that's why we are first inspecting what all data types are there of in each column. The second exploration I'm doing is if there are any null values in our data set, which is Zomato underscore data, which we got after merging the two data frames. So if you will use this is null method over here on Zomato underscore data, if I'm being too fast, you can ask me not to and give you time to explore these attributes yourself. Everyone getting what D types attribute is doing over here? I want quick yeses or quick questions, because it's already 1.5 hours. So I at least want to reach to the data visualization portion. Rehan, it was Zomato underscore DF, the data frame that we were having from the file. But then I merged these two files together. I just use this kind of a thing in order to show you, that Pandas library is so extensive that it can become a substitute for SQL. Like the SQL, in SQL, we perform inner joins on two different, data sets in a relational database. So similar thing can be used in Pandas. So just to show you the efficiency of Pandas library, I use that kind of a thing. So right now it's Zomato underscore data because we merged those two data frames together and created a new data frame. That variable name is Zomato underscore data. You're welcome. So I would like to move quickly because we do not have much time. So Zomato underscore data dot is null would give you a result like this. So if there is any null value, that will be displayed as true. Otherwise, as if there is a value, suppose in city, there was a value, in country code, the value is 162 over here. So the result is false. That no, the value over here is not null. So is null gives you false or true as the result. So I'll quickly just run this cell. But if you're interested to know, I just want to know if there are any null values. So I just want to know the sum of those null values. So this will do what? If there are no null values, then it will display 0. But if there is one null value, one missing value, the result will be 1. But now this sum will do what? It will add those null values together. So this 9 over here means that there are 9 places, there are 9 elements in our data frame which do not have any value. So it does not have, that could be in any column. So that could be in cuisines column or in city column. There might be some values missing. So I just want to know if my data frame has any missing values. And how many of those values are missing? So there are 9 in number. Now I want to see that in my numeric columns, that is average cost for 2, price range, aggregate rating, and votes, if there are any null values. So I am using dot values dot any. I can also use sum. So you'll see the answer will be 0. So sum is giving me an integer value, which is 0. And any will give just true or false. So this is giving me false. If I use the same thing over here, any, so it will not display 9. It will display true. Okay, and some will give you the exact number, like how many values are missing. Okay, then let's move on to Zomato underscore data, average cost for two, price range, aggregate rating, votes, and I'm using this describe function. Now this describe function gives you the descriptive statistics, which means that you can see what's the mean value in your numeric column, what's the mode, what's the median, and what is the standard deviation, what is the variance, what are the interquartile ranges, as you can see 25%, 50%, 75%, and so you can see IQR, and finally you can see maximum value in each numeric column of yours. So as you can see, the maximum value for this average cost for two is this much, which is 8 lakhs. So that might be coming from USA or somewhere. Mean value is 1,199. And there's a huge standard deviation. So there is one outlier. So some of the restaurants, or one restaurant is pricing very, very high. So that's why standard deviation is so high. Not, not equal to 1 or 10. So that's very high. So this means that this series has an outlier or two or more outliers. Price range is okay. So the mean is 1.8, standard deviation is 0.9, which means there are no outliers. Same goes for aggregate rating, but in votes also there may be. So for one or two restaurants, the votes will be extensively high, but for others, they will be very low or equal to 0 also. So there is a standard deviation, which is high over here. So you can get such kind of information from this described method. So what's the observation? That there are 9,551 rows in all columns, and there is no missing data in all our numeric columns. So there must be missing data in some of the string columns or text columns. So now I want to know that standard deviation is very high on average cost for two. So it is for different countries having different currency. That's why the average cost is slightly different. There are 15 countries in this data set and their currencies are not standardized. So I want to know which restaurants have this maximum average cost for two as their value. So just, grab this series and then perform this result on it. So let me show it to you. So on this variable, which is Zomato underscore data, I'm grabbing this series, which is average cost for two. Okay, I did not use the tab, so it just vanished. And I'm doing equals to 80,000. Sorry, 8 lakhs. Okay, I'll just copy the value from over here. Oops. And this will give me, this will just give me true or false. So false, but some values might be, true. So we want to view them. So that's why I'll grab this data again and display all the rows and all the columns that have this true result. So there are just two rows in which the average cost for two is this much. For this restaurant names Sky and some Shangri-La, which both are located in Indonesia. So if you are being asked, suppose your employer will ask you the question, okay, which are the 2 restaurants that are having this maximum average cost for 2, which is causing this outlier? So you can, grab this and show it to your boss right away. Okay, so this will extract rows which meet a specific condition. So on comparing this much Indonesian rupiah to INR, it means 3,800. So although the price is high, but it would not have costed that much of a outlier, which is slightly higher. So this is the conclusion that you can draw. Now, if you will do an info, you will use this info method on Zomato underscore dataset. You will get that this restaurant ID has no null values because this value is coinciding with the number of columns. Sorry, number of rows. So 9,551 are the rows, and you have these many values. So there is no null value. But if you can see over here in cuisines, there are 9,542 elements. Okay, but the number of rows is 9,551. So there must be some missing values. And they are 9 in number. So that 9 number which we were getting, that how many values are missing. So you can, check it out from this info method, that in which series or which column those missing values are located. So there may be more columns in which there would have been missing values, but in this particular data set, only this cuisine series has 9 missing values. So what is the observation drawn? That there are no missing values in any columns except in cuisines, and most of the rows are of data type object, that is, they are categorical in nature. And there are only like 5 or 6 columns that are numeric in nature. So now we'll be doing some kind of a data cleaning on this cuisines series because there are some missing values. So this is the method which is fill NA. That is, if there are, missing values, fill NA. NA means if there are any missing values. So fill that with others. Why we are using this others? Because it is a categorical series. It has text value. So we are inserting a text value only over here. So wherever there is nothing written, so just write others there. And this in place equals to true would ensure that this Zomato underscore data, that we'll use further. So if I did not do this in place equals to true, this will not be reflected in our data set. Only for this cell, only for this time being, the changes will be done, but otherwise these changes will be forgotten. So in place equals to true ensures that these changes are reflected in your data set. And same thing with aggregate rating. If there are any missing values, I'm showing you just a result that for categorical series, you can do this. And for numeric series, if there are any missing values, you can replace them with their mean values. So Zomato underscore data, if you will do a quick info over here, you can see that now the cuisines series does not have any missing values. So 9551. So those 9 values got replaced with others. Now let's move on to data visualization. So what do you understand by correlation? Quick answers, please, in your chat boxes. I'll discuss just 3 or 4 data visualization plots. And rest you can try it on your own because you have the code with you. And if you guys have any kind of a difficulty, you can email it to us. Rehan, if you'll delete those rows because only one column has a missing value, then you will lose every other data also about that restaurant. You will lose the average rating of that restaurant. You lose the price range and everything else. So why to lose your data? Why not to replace it? Okay, so correlation means what is the relationship between any two or three variables or two or three columns as in our data frame. So the number varies from -1 to 1 in our correlation matrix. 0.9 means there is a good relationship. That is, if average rating is of that restaurant is good, that would also mean the votes of that restaurant are higher. -0.9 would just be a good relationship as 0.9, but in a negative sense. This means that if price range is increasing, then average rating is decreasing, that kind of a thing. And 0.2 means that those variables are not correlated. So the country and the number of votes are not correlated, or the country and the average rating are not related, that kind of a stuff. Or country or the longitude are not related. So I have grabbed these four numeric series, which is average cost for two, price range, aggregate rating, and votes, and performed .corr, which stands for correlation. And this is a correlation matrix. So if you want to visualize this, you can use a Seaborn heat map, which is sns.heatmap. And you can define that we are performing this on this variable, which is our correlation. And we want the min to be -1 and max to be 1. So this pink over here denotes these values which are between 0 and 0.25. Orange means slightly higher values, which is between 0.25 and 0.5. So the observation that we draw from here is that there is some correlation between this price range and aggregate rating over here, because this is light orange. So light orange falls in this category, which is between 0.5 and 0.75. So there is some kind of a positive correlation. The rest of the columns do not have that kind of a correlation, which means that if the price range is higher of that particular restaurant, then the people will also rate that restaurant higher because the aggregate rating is also higher. And now I have used this sns.distplot, which is distribution plot, on this series. So this is a univariate analysis, only performed on one variable. And this is the result, which means that a lot of restaurants, as you can see, are rated as 0. After this, most of the restaurants have been related between, so these are the peaks. The highest peak at 0, the next peak at around 3, and around 4. So after this, most of the restaurants have been rated between 3 and 4. We can also do a bivariate analysis. That is, we can check the relationship between two variables. So using this scatter plot or line plot, we can achieve the result. So I have shown you both the results. So on the x-axis, I want aggregate rating. And on my y-axis, I want Zomato underscore data with votes. So I've grabbed this vote series on my y-axis and aggregate rating series on my x-axis. So here there is a scatter plot, and this is a line plot. Line plot is used when you want to see what are the trend, what are the patterns, and scatter plots are mostly used when you want to see if there are any outliers. So the observation that we are getting is, as the quality of food gets better, the aggregate ratings increases, and also the number of voters also increase. So between 4 and 5, you can see that there are many votes, like more than 10,000, between 8,000 and 10,000 and so on. What is the observation that we draw from this line plot? Between the same columns, we can say that aggregate ratings and votes have an increasing trend. So they have a positive correlation. And then you can use violin plots. So violin plot is similar to like describe function. So whatever the data you get from that describe or box plots. So violin plots, this means that these are the mean values which are shown by this white dot over here. Then this is the interquartile range of each column. So the price ranges and the aggregate ratings. So aggregate ratings vary from 0 to 5 and price range also. So they are showing the outliers and the interquartile ranges between these two series. So X equals to price range, Y equals to aggregate rating, and the data that we have is Zomato underscore data. If I put a semicolon over here, this warning will go away. So what we can observe is that increase in price range, the median of the ratings also increase. So this plot is getting wider and wider as the price range is increasing. So is the average rating. So the median is increasing. Okay, I would like to. So first question is, which countries have the highest number of restaurants that are registered with Zomato? So I've used this SNS.set style. So you can, go over to Seaborn documentation and see for yourself what are the styles that are available from over here. So I've used white grid. You can also use black grid and all the other styles available. Then I've used plt.figure, which has the fixed size. So I want 14 in length, 14 grids in length, and 6 grids in my width. Then I've used sns.countplot. Countplot means bar plot. So just one variable, country, and the data we are taking is Zomato underscore data. I've rotated these, X ticks because otherwise they were overlapping. And then I've also given it a plt.title, that is number of restaurants registered in Zomato in different countries. So the highest number of restaurants are registered in India, followed by United States. So in India, there are 8,652 restaurants that are registered with Zomato. Now our goal is to analyze which restaurants have poor ratings in Zomato and why. So the number of restaurants registered in Zomato in India is the highest. So let's look at the data of these restaurants. Poor ratings, okay. So first I'll see Zomato India. I'll make one more data frame and I'll grab whatever restaurants are there in India and store it in Zomato underscore India. Then I'll view the result. So as you can see, the country of them all is India. Now I'll try to answer this question, which all restaurants have a poor rating and why. So we have the aggregate ratings and rating text as 2 column of interest. So rating text, if I did a mean on that, so I get that this is the price range. This is the aggregate rating, 3.04 as the average, 4.64 as the excellent. For good, there is 3.67. Not rated, 0.0. Poor is 2.29. Very good is 4.15. So excellent and very good food ratings are provided in restaurants which are slightly premium in cost. So as you can see, average cost for 2. So this is the excellent rating and this is the good rating for them. Okay. So which have a premium cost and high price range. They also have huge number of votes, as you can see. So everything is correlated, aggregate rating, votes, and average cost per 2. For the Indian restaurants, it's related. Now, what's the relationship between average cost per 2 and rating text? We are using box plot. Box plot will display. So this is, the median value. This is the in 75% value. This is the 25% value. And if there are outliers, they are being shown by these diamonds. Which means that rating improves as the average cost for 2 also increases. Similarly, you can do use box plot on these price range and rating text. Rating text again, you can see that higher the price range, higher the ratings. So average and poor ratings are for those restaurants that have the lowest price range. As you can see, average and poor. So their price range is also less. So now you have one reason that the restaurants that are being rated poor or average have a lower price range. Now, what are the other factors that are contributing to their rating as poor? So guys, I would like to end my session over here.